Do you own or run a business in Ipswich? This prime spot is now available to promote your business for a month, 6 months, or even a year. Strategically placed before every episode of Ipswich Today, that's more than 250 shows, your message will be hard to miss. For more information, contact the show via the website ipswichtoday.com.au. Coming up, Deebing Creek protesters remain more than a week after a dawn raid to clear a development site. Speed limits changing in Ipswich Central, Ipswich's growth suburbs, and platypus numbers in serious decline. It's Tuesday, May 9, 2023, and I'm Alan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today, which acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which it is produced and pays respects to elders past, present and emerging. This podcast is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. Last week, security fences went up and heavy machinery moved in at the proposed Deebing Springs residential development, which has been mired in controversy as reported frequently in the Ipswich Tribune. In claim and counterclaim between local traditional owners, some have endorsed the development and others have been camped on site for nearly 4 years to protest over the development. In the pre-dawn of May the 2nd, the developers, in the presence of police and security, moved in to clear the site of protesters amidst tense and emotional scenes. Dan Rennie from AAA Murray Country FM was there for an extended period on Tuesday morning. Dan, thanks for speaking with Ipswich Today.
Yeah, g'day Alan, and g'day to your listeners, and as is custom, before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where I am here today. That's Yagara and Turrbal people here in the west end of Brisbane.
What happened at Deebing Creek last Tuesday?
What happened last Tuesday was something out of an action movie. There were riot police or tactical police who were forcibly removing people in a pre-dawn raid, 4 a.m. I'm talking old people, young people, possessions, vehicles, everything removed from the site. It was something that took everybody by surprise, including myself, who received a phone call to say, get out here, we need some coverage of what's happening here, because it's something you'd see in the United States with SWAT police coming in to defuse a hostage situation or a terrorist situation. That's what I compare it to, the scenes that were described to me, and from what I've been told from some very senior elders in the group there.
You spoke to many people on and off the air. Can you tell us how it got to this point?
How it got to this point was there's some dispute between some of the traditional owners. There's a small faction of the TOs who don't speak on behalf of all the mob out there. And when I say a few, I mean literally a handful, between half a dozen to a dozen of these people who are going outside the communal governance system that's always been in place with the traditional owners of the Deebing Springs and Deebing Creek Deebing mission. So look, it's a culturally historically significant place. Of course, it was the site of a massacre. That's still neither here nor there when it comes to the proof of it. But the feeling amongst the people there is it is a culturally significant place. There's bora rings, so meeting circles, and also places for traditional ceremony. There, of course, is the site of the mission that was set up in the late 1800s. So a lot of culturally significant areas there, burial sites, and all the mob there on the ground want is for the site to be moved. But the developers, A.B. Jennings, are pushing ahead with some 2,500 dwellings that are proposed or not proposed. It's underway as we speak.
Well, would it be correct to say then that the core issue has been this unresolved issue of bone fragments found, which to date we've been told officially they're not human? Is that the core issue, or is there more to it than that?
Look, that's the big one, Alan, and the bones that were forensically examined, and I say that pretty loosely because it was done via a photograph. I don't think you can extract DNA from photographs, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there needs to be some further forensic examination and perhaps some ground penetrating radar done there, because these are stories that have been passed down for millennia, thousands of years. So that alone should halt the construction that's underway as we speak. Not only that, but the traditional owners and the native title is still before the court. So it's to be able to give permission for this to happen before it's been gone through the legal system, legal process is unwarranted.
You've touched on these deep emotional issues with different family stories handed down from elders about the extent of possible burials outside the preserved cemetery area. Did you get any more detail about that?
Yeah, I spoke to a number of elders off the record, and I'd like to keep most of those conversations private, but the emotion that you hear talking to these old people who have grown up knowing this area is special and sacred all their lives, and have passed it down again. I was emotional being there. It's a very spiritual place. When you walk there, you can feel it, and having a big fence and dozens of security guards who were overly aggressive and overly antagonising to the group there. It was one of those really rare feelings that you get of trying to keep it all together and trying to maintain your journalistic hat whilst also being moved to the point of being really angry as well.
Dan, development on the site was first approved quite a while ago in 2008, and the current owner, A.V. Jennings, basically saying in a written statement last week that they've been through the hoops with all the environmental and cultural plans approved, with one local elder, and he was named in that statement, Sonny Thompson, saying the site for development was never part of the mission. Was it part of the mission or wasn't it part of the mission? Do you know?
Look, I don't know. I'm an observer, and I don't speak on behalf of the traditional owners out there, but what I can tell you is that whole space where A.V. Jennings are developing is historically a sacred site for the younger mob there, the traditional custodians who have occupied that land for thousands of years, have been out there protesting for at least 3 years. So look, whilst I can't give you a definitive answer on that, all I do know is what it means to the people there, and what the developers, A.V. Jennings, are doing is causing a whole lot of distress and a whole lot of emotional turmoil.
In speaking with the traditional owners, have you been given any indication of where to from here?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows, and that's the really sad part about this story is it's going to drag out. It's ongoing. From what I understand, is there won't be any halt to construction while it's still being disputed. So I can't answer that question for you, Alan. All I do know is it's going to just keep heaping on the emotional turmoil, as I said, and the pain for these people. And it's evident if you speak to them just how painful this process and this experience is for them.
Dan Rennie from AAA Murray Country, really appreciate you taking the time to speak with Ipswich today.
Yeah, no worries, Alan. I'll just add as well, I want to give a shout out to all the mob who have been out there standing in solidarity, wind and cold and all the rest of it. People don't do this because it's fun. People are doing this because it must be done.
Dan, thanks again.
Pleasure.
In other local news, speed limits are to be reduced in Ipswich Central from May 10. In a decision that did not involve councillors, it was jointly decided by officers from Transport and Main Roads and Ipswich City Council that a swathe of changes to speed limits would be made to major thoroughfares in Ipswich. Citing the need for reduced speed to enhance public safety, parts of Brisbane, Limestone and East Streets change from 60 to 40 kilometres per hour. Other streets, including council-owned parts of Brisbane, Limestone, Ellenborough, Nicholas and South Streets, will also be reduced to 40 kilometres per hour. If you drive on Warwick Road, speed limit changes are also afoot in Yamanto between Pasali Drive and the Cunningham Highway. Ripley Valley and Redbank Plains have again made the leaderboard for population growth in Ipswich. The latest report from Council reveals Ripley added 88 new homes and 267 residents, while Redbank Plains added 56 homes and 139 people between January and March this year. In a statement, Council said Ipswich remained in a strong position to provide high-quality housing despite new construction rates slowing down around the country. After Ripley and Redbank Plains, the next most popular suburbs for growth are Flinders View, Raceview and Spring Mountain. The quarterly report from Council also told us that 88 new food licences were issued. The city has nearly 33,000 registered dogs and more than 4,000 customer service requests were lodged. The Ipswich region platypus population is on the brink after the 2022 floods. The devastating impact on the city's platypus population has been laid bare in a new monitoring report presented to Ipswich City Council. Council tracked the city's platypus populations for the past 7 years, regularly recording positive environmental DNA traces confirming strong platypus populations in creeks and waterways across the city. Out of 22 sites monitored in June 2022, one tentative site was located in Wacol. More recently, in December 2022, the same sites were tested with similar results, which confirmed platypus have not returned to Ipswich's rivers, creeks and waterways. Past reports from Wildlife Queensland, who conducted the platypus surveys in partnership with Council, noted that declining water quality and habitat in Woogaroo and Opossum Creeks are some of the greatest threats to the city's platypus populations. Platypus burrows are typically in soft sandy banks of creeks and rivers, protected by tree roots and vegetation. These burrows are especially vulnerable to collapse with the influx of sediment and debris from floodwaters. And finally, colds and flu can easily spread from person to person, but you can help stop the spread of flu and keep your family safe. By taking a few simple steps, including covering your coughs and sneezes, washing your hands, and keeping children home while sick, you can help stop the spread. Westmoreton Health reminds you that common illnesses like COVID-19 and influenza can quickly spread from person to person. These illnesses can be very serious. For young kids, especially those under 5, and for people over 65, pregnant women, and those with medical conditions such as diabetes, they can result in hospitalisation or worse. To help stop the spread and keep your family safe, cover your coughs and sneezes, keep kids at home when they're sick, wash your hands often and encourage young ones to do so as well, keep your family vaccinations up to date, clean frequently those surfaces that are touched regularly, and don't share items like cups, cutlery, lip balm, toys, or anything else that comes into contact with the mouth or nose. That's it for this episode. Don't forget to look for handy links in the show notes. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. This podcast is also listener-supported. Please make a once-only gift or regular donation to help keep it online. Just go to ipswichtoday.com.au and click the donate button on the homepage to make a payment through PayPal. Follow and stream this podcast from your favourite app, including iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, or play Ipswich Today on smart speakers. Music is supplied by Purple Planet Music. This is Alan Roebuck. Thank you for listening. Ipswich Today can now place your business name right here. It's a new service now available. For more information, contact the show via the website ipswichtoday.com.au.